Producing money, it's all about the bread. No one cares if you drop a single or drop dead.
Hey folks, how's it going? It is me, Rolo C, and welcome back to Rolo Runs the City podcast. I am your host, Rolo, and of course, you could always reach out to me at Twitter at Rolo Runs the City, or feel free to hit me up on Instagram at Rolo Runs the City Music, or at Rolo Runs the City Podcast. And for all things Rolo, you could definitely feel free to check me out, RoloRunsTheCity.com. That is my website, all things that are Rolo. Feel free to go ahead and hit me up because I actually do run the city, so I do post events as well of events that I'll be attending in reference to running my butt off. But anyway, without further ado, we're bringing the episode Bling and Bang. Reason why this was actually created was because the fact that there was a meeting, a secret meeting between label executives and private prisons, and we've seen recent, I guess you could say, just recent reports of people like Ice Cube coming out talking about the situation recently, about how the label execs as well as the I'm so sorry, I'm over here getting texts. Anyway, where was I? Okay, Ice Cube speaks about that the label execs and private prisons, they're basically in bed with one another. They're one and the same. Whoever owns the major labels are the ones who own the private prisons. And I actually heard Crazy Bone talk about it as well. He spoke about, I believe it was probably about a little bit over 10 years ago. He was talking about an open letter that was written by an executive about, basically constructing a plan of the privatized prisons. And he's been very out forward with it as well, with things that he's done in the music industry in reference to putting information out there and whatnot. So shout out to Crazy Bone on that, of course. But it's an absolute shame that something like that occurs. I feel as minorities we've came a long way. However, we still have a long way to go. So I don't want to say that we're at the halfway point, right? That's not even a good way of looking at it. But we have a long way to go. We've come a long way, but we still have a long way to go. And for that to actually occur is just, it's crazy. I think they called it a letter, a secret meeting that destroyed a generation, which it absolutely did. If you think about the incarceration back in 91 from there on out, I'm pretty sure, and it has nothing to do with the fact that the population is growing. You have more minorities, being incarcerated nowadays as opposed to prior. Obviously, we know the history of the United States, and we know what that entails, in reference to, slavery, segregation, things of that nature. But like I said, we've came a long way, but we still have a long way to go. So when we try to rid of these entities that have kept people in subjugation, now what you're trying to do is, okay, well, do we really want people to be free? No. And then next thing you know, something like this comes out, and it goes to show you that how influential music is. People know the difference between what's entertainment and what's real life whenever they go watch a movie, things of that nature, or even playing a video game for that matter. They can tell. But music is so influential. And the sad thing about it is about 95% of these rappers out here are not living their lyrics. You know what I mean? So I've always been a firm believer of, when I did music in the past, and even when me doing music now, is either I've done it or I've seen it. But I would never want to talk about something that I knew nothing about. Because then somebody will pull my card. They'll call me out on it. And I definitely wouldn't want that, because then that just not only, I can care less about public perception, but that loses credibility within myself. So I never wanted to go that route. But, it's crazy. A lot of guys, actually went that route. I call people out on my song. I'm talking about, you know, world class wrecking crew, wrapped in romance. He's bionic. Everybody knows I'm talking about Dr. Dre. You know, if you look at the way they dressed, the way the music was, the way the message was, that wasn't going to lead to any popularity, you know. But we're going to fast forward, to '86 and NWA, and obviously this is before that meeting, but let's not make it seem like that the gangster music wasn't the catalyst of this music of this actual meeting occurring. So let's not think that had nothing to do with it, and at the same time, these label execs, they're filling up their prisons, and it's also hurting people of color. But they can care less because, especially during this time, there weren't, if there was any sort of leadership or ownership of anybody in the music industry of color that actually owned any of these entities, owned a label or had high positioning in government in reference to saying, okay, well, we're going to approve these privatized prisons. Like, I can guarantee you that not many minorities at this time were in a position of power. So it's the whole situation is disgusting, and the thing that I call out about Dr. Dre is very similar to what's going on with LeBron and we'll say China, right? I know a few years back they were talking about, people were saying a lot of derogatory things toward China. China is one of the main proponents that is actually catapulting the NBA globally, and you wouldn't figure it would be China because obviously you have more European players that are coming to the NBA that's actually, spreading the NBA as far as it can go. But let's think about it. Talking about clothing, talking about sneakers, manufacturing, China. So with that being said, obviously I mentioned LeBron. LeBron is a Nike athlete, has his own shoe. Where's Nike's being produced at? China. People want to criticize all sorts of companies that are coming out of China that's trying to sell things for very cheap because obviously, I don't believe it. I'm not sure if they have child labor laws. I don't think they do. But everybody knows that the labor is extremely cheap. They're literally, making it pennies on the dollar. And they're probably profiting maybe like more than 1,000%. I'm just throwing a number out there. But with that being said, I talk about LeBron. LeBron advocates for China. The way I think he looks at things, what's being told to him from those up top, Phil Knight, just saying it. But they're probably, telling him, hey, LeBron, you ain't got to worry about this. You just go ahead and keep promoting this product. Maybe he may feel a certain way and say, hey, man, there's kids that are being, under, pretty much modern day slavery, right? They're paying them, like I said, probably a fraction of a penny to the dollar. And, the way they're probably giving this story to him is to say, hey, well, you got to really think about it. I mean, your family's well off. You've changed your the trajectory of your family, and you have generational wealth now, and think about it this way, it's not any of your kids over there working, you guys are good. Me personally, that still wouldn't sit right with me. That would actually bother me, bother the hell out of me. I'll be honest with you, because at the end of the day, that could be my child. But even though it's not my child, that's somebody else's child. You know what I mean? And it's not about trying to act like you're holier than thou or you're a saint. No, man, you just got to be a good human. Sometimes, you just got to call things out for what it is. Right is right and wrong is wrong. So that's the reason why I wanted to go ahead and put this track together. I really, like I said, I fell in love with the process. It had been on my mind for a while to make it, so I said, let me go ahead and put this thing down because it absolutely just made a lot of sense to me to, bring that to the forefront. So now I talked about LeBron, right? Okay, I'm bringing it back to Dr. Dre. You know, in one of my bars, like toward the end of my song, I talk about, you're basically you're killing your own people. I remember, I believe the actor was Bill Cobb, I believe his name is. He played the old man that was giving Wesley Snipes' character Nino Brown a hard time in New Jack City, right? Check it out, definitely old school, classic, right? And he was telling, hey man, you're killing your own people, and I said, you don't want to end up like Nino Brown. Don't be like the New Jack because Nino Brown went down, because at the end of the day, the karma catches up to everybody. And Bill Cobb's character ended up taking out Nino when he was leaving the courthouse, and he ended up fell off the stairs, dead on the floor. It was crazy, but I think about that situation with Dr. Dre. Like, if you're not gonna help your people, don't hurt your people. You know what I mean? Who knows what was being told to him? Oh yeah, we need to try to promote this and we need to try to promote that. And I know I'm going to catch a lot of flack for even talking about the great Dr. Dre. And I'll be honest with you, Dr. Dre is very influential in reference to his production and how good his music has came out. But a lot of the messaging behind the music isn't something that I would consider to be very positive. Obviously, it's toxic. I remember when the East Coast came out with a song called Self-Destruction. Had a whole bunch of people in it. It had KRS-One. I mean, it had a whole bunch of folks from the East Coast rapping about positivity, like self-destruction. You ready for self-destruction? They're just basically talking about, destructive behavior and why we shouldn't be hurting ourselves. And I thought that was very powerful, just for minorities in general, let alone the black community. But they stopped pushing that positive message so they can go ahead and push this gangsta rap because they know that people can be easily influenced by the music and fill up these prisons, unfortunately, And I think it's just, it's an absolutely horrible notion to just see that legally that happened, It absolutely did. And what's the sad thing is right now, we're in the second decade in the 2000s already. You know what I mean? It's 2023, and we're still falling victim to the same crap. And that's what's killing me, is the fact that, we've come so far in hip hop and so far in music, but we're still in a situation where we're like, oh, we want to replicate what they're doing because that's what they've been doing to be successful. And this is what kills me. Toxicity to be successful, nah, you can keep it. Because I take, any day I take hard work, dedication, positivity, good vibes, like everybody's saying now, over toxicity. But that's the thing that's really killing me, is the fact that people are still doing this. Like, I'm seeing so many kids back in the day, right, that they had no choice but to man up, do what they were supposed to do, confront their fears, confront their bullies, do what they needed to get done. You know what I mean? They didn't have the power of the internet. They didn't have the power of a global network to make money online, things of that nature. People sometimes just had to do what they had to do, Now, people have these entities to do this, but what are they doing? They're promoting toxicity. And guess what? Companies that are shelling out money, advertisers, are just throwing money out at this because they're like, hey, no big deal if it's negative. Oh, well, as long as our product gets in front of people's faces, then that's fine. And at the same time, not only are they promoting their product, but they're promoting ignorance and destruction. So I know I kind of went off the rails a little bit here on this episode about what's going on with the music industry and how it's asinine to even think that we can grow at this point. Because I'm going to be quite honest with you, and I'm not being negative. If you're not willing to grow, you're not going to. I say it all the time. If you don't think there's a problem, you'll never address it. So I'm not trying to put a negative spin on anything. I'm very optimistic. However, I'm very realistic too. And sometimes you got to just call things for how you see them. I invest my money as well. And I'm not going to pull my money out, as soon as I see that there is going to be a valley in a stock. You go through peaks and valleys, no different in life. But as long as if you continue to keep rising, you'll be fine. But at the end of the day, when you see something continue to fall and fall and fall, you got to cut your losses, and then you got to keep it going. You got to keep moving forward. I've done that with stocks. Hell, I've done that with people in my life where I've seen that there was no improvement in the relationship, no improvement with who they were, and just kept on steadily declining. And the toxicity is not needed. So you got to cut your losses and you keep moving forward. But I'm so glad that I was able to put this out. I put this song out on the 50th anniversary of hip hop, just trying to bring some light to what's going on. I'm not hating on Dr. Dre or nothing like that. I'm just trying to tell people, what's really going on. And, NWA was a catalyst of this whole movement. Let's keep it 100, like I said, Ice Cube, definitely one of my, he's definitely top 10 for me. You know what I'm saying? But one of my favorite MCs of all time. But at the same token, you put an information out and you are part of it. And you got an inside track of what's going on. Everybody can say and speculate. Like, it doesn't sound like he's speculating. It sounds like he's just saying it for what it is. He's like, oh, they are. But tell us how they are. Like, I know that that the labels and the prisons are one of the same. But we want to know from the gift horse's mouth, who told you? What specifically was said? So that's something that I like to know. I'm pretty sure everybody else would like to know. And I'm not trying to say like, oh, you give us names. But at the same token, it is what it is. I see, and that's one thing. Don't call it snitching. It's not snitching. Okay? And we're in an era right now where they're glorifying snitches. Nah, man, you're just justifying the situation, turning a wrong into a right. Because for people to hurt anyone in general, let alone people of color, come on, man. I speak up. I say something. Because at the end of the day, if you're not with the solution, you're part of the problem. Well, anyway, take care. Godspeed. This is Rolo. And I'm glad that you guys were here. I know I went on a little bit. I went a little lengthy on this one. But this was a very imperative message that I had to get out to the people. Y'all take care. Godspeed. Feel free to hit me up. RoloRunsTheCity.com. Twitter @RoloRunsTheCity. And also do not forget Instagram @RoloRunsTheCityMusic. Also @RoloRunsTheCity Podcast. Take care and Godspeed. Be the GOAT. Never a sheep. And do not sleep on your dreams. Peace. We'll see you in the next one.
Rappers producing money, it's all about the bread. No one cares if you drop a single or drop dead. Bling and bang.